The role of GitHub Copilot on software development, a perspective on productivity, security, best practices, and future directions. That's right, a study on GitHub Copilot and whether or not GitHub Copilot has any usefulness in it. So what they did was they went over the way that Copilot is used inside of a particular data set. I believe, based on what I read, they essentially just looked at the typical data set that Copilot operates in with OpenAI's Geppetto 3, and they found that there were 159 gigabytes of Python code from 54 million repositories. That's just part of the data set that goes into GitHub Copilot. So they essentially just referenced this, I believe, because they wanted to see like what they were working. Let me go down to, many people have used it, yada, yada, yada. Okay. So there were some positive outcomes. I have to call out things that I don't want to believe, but there's some positive outcomes. For example, the findings suggest that GitHub Copilot significantly enhances productivity, reducing the effort needed by approximately 70% for simple tasks and around 20% for more complex ones. Now, the disparity between the numbers tells us something right there. This is a speed boost, but it's telling us something that they're not explicitly saying. Simple tasks are easier for LLMs to deal with than complex ones, and the higher the complexity, the less likely you are to get a boost in your productivity. People who used GitHub Copilot with assistants to do I think they used like a sample Upwork sample or something like that of developers. They completed their tasks 55.8% faster than those without AI support. Okay, so they have some things here that seem good, right, at first glance. 88% of developers felt more productive. 77% agreed they spent less time searching for information. And now it starts to get a little weird, because I'm not so sure that 77% of developers spending less time searching for information is necessarily a good thing. 87% experienced less mental effort on repetitive tasks, reducing cognitive load. 74% reported being able to focus on more satisfying work because Copilot alleviated the burden of repetitive coding tasks. Okay. Now, I would still not say that that's necessarily a good thing, but there are definitely some repetitive tasks that I can see being a positive thing for AI to take over. So, sure. There was an 84% increase in successful builds. Now, in my personal opinion, that doesn't actually mean much because it depends on the nature of the build, but still, okay. Developers accepted approximately 30% of suggestions from GitHub Copilot, and 90% reported committing code recommended by Copilot. Now I start to get worried. And additionally, 91% of developers stated that their teams merged pull requests containing code suggested by Copilot. Okay. However, what does effectiveness mean? What does success mean? Just because something is accepted, what does that actually mean? The findings confirm that Copilot continues to generate insecure code. In a previous study published in 2022, the study revealed 452 generated snippets with a high likelihood of security vulnerabilities. Specifically, 32% of the Python and 24% of the JavaScript snippets exhibited security issues. These vulnerabilities span 38 distinct common weakness enumeration categories, including critical ones like these. 8 of these are listed in the 2023 top 25. And I think I might have skipped over it inadvertently here, but yeah, I probably did here. There was something they talked about here where a lot of the efficiencies that were gained strictly by having Copilot generate code for you were often lost because the developers could not trust the output. When they were asked to double check what was being produced, they lost that time having to work with Copilot to regenerate the code snippet. I think I jumped over it somehow and I missed it. I meant to go down in a particular order and somehow I missed that. It's somewhere up here. So efficiencies gained are in one area are typically lost in another. And that's if the developer takes the time to review the code that was generated by Copilot before they ship it to production. And that feeds back into why I find the particular numbers around the successful builds, increase in pull requests, or increase to pushes in productions, things like that, because how many of these have things that were not properly scrutinized and ended up in production? And then, of course, they cover the legal and ethical implications of things like taking code from licensed code bases, et cetera, or exposing sensitive information to the LLM, and so on and so forth. So there you go. I thought I'd highlight this study.